Hello everybody and welcome to the evolution of disabled people through American literature during the last 100 years. As you all know, or maybe most of you know, disability is something really very common which is in our society. It had been always in our society, and in here you can see a definition, one of the multiple definitions of disability. But disability is also, for saying in a more easier way, a condition that affects the body or the mind, that makes people have a more difficult to, because of this condition, to do certain activities. When we are talking about the physical activities, is one thing. When we are talking about activities, another thing. Usually, they affect the activity limitation and the participation in social activities as well. Well, as you can see, you can hear some different ways of having a disability, all of them really very important, and all of them suffering by a lot of people. Probably the most common one, or the one that you are that you know that is more visible, is the physical disability. It's quite easy to recognize in the street a person who is wearing a wheelchair or with crutches or something like that. It's not so easy to recognize at the first sight a person who is suffering from death. Well, why choosing literature for talking about disability in the United States? I think literature is a good tool for getting to know different problems. I mean, a lot of writers, a lot of authors, playwrights, poets, something like that, have been telling in their works kind of resolving or how to get to know the problem that they have in a society group of people. In that case, disability is because it's one of the most important one, I would say, about inequality and discrimination that we had already in our society. Some of these books are really very well known, but most of you, and they are really very important during the last 100 years in the USA and in the world, of course. First one I chose was Of Minds and Men by John Steinbeck. What I consider is a very good example about talking about the loneliness and innocence and dreams of person, and also a person who had a disability with someone who is dependent on another. Second choice is a very well-known book, very well-known novel, The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. He's talking about intellectually disability person. He's very severely mentally disabled. He's called an idiot, a fool. Insults are really very related with disability. Society itself used to insult people suffering from any kind of disability. Next example, The Herd is a Lonely Hunter by Kirsten McCullers. It's really a book that impressed to me the first time I read it. Why? Because it talks about one of the disabilities what I think is one of the most cruel, because deaf people, you can see they look like normal people. Nobody can understand what the disability is until they've been talking to them. So they had an isolation from the society, an isolation between itself as well. They cannot listen, they cannot hear anything at all. It's a kind of really very difficult disability to live with. And society, I think, is not really prepared to face this kind of disability. Well, the book is a very good example of that, and also the problem they suffer this kind of person which suffering this kind of disability. Cause of Living by Martin Emayak is a play. Literature is not only novel, as I told you before, is a play. And here the stories, influence and challenging four lives converge in the meeting of strangers in a small empty apartment in Bayonne, New Jersey. Well, you have in there kind of the summary, although, but the most important thing is we are describing a person suffering from cerebral palsy, which is quite common and is really very bad seen by society as well. Usually, all disabled people are put it like if we are referring to the LGTB group, talking about the sexual option, we would say that well, they go out of the closet and with disabled people society, what they're trying to do every time is put these people suffering any kind of disabled or disability is put it into the closet. Sorry. Well, I have to tell you that disability is really a big problem, and well, disabled people have been, as you can see here, hidden and excluded from society for years. The situation right now is becoming much better, but still it's a bad situation. Literature has been the author's weapon to uncover the hidden reality of human disability, and still is. But the problem is that today people suffering disabilities are still marginalized, isolated, and discriminated just for suffering a disability, which they are not guilty at all about that. Fortunately, disability and the people who suffer from it is less and less and a cause of discrimination also, although there is still a long way to go to achieve. But we are making better. I mean, recognition of this group of person, this minority group, is becoming much better by the rest of society. And this is a good thing. In addition to the literature, some other arts like cinema, even painting, but cinema have been, which is another form of communication, also in the social network, are helping to visualize this group. You know, a lot of movies lately that are paying attention to this kind of people suffering this. Finally, I would like to say as well that you have two different types of disability. The one that you get born with it, and the one that you have as an acquisition due to an accident or maybe to an illness. Me, as a disabled people due to an illness, I can tell you that I know both sides of the coin. And it's very, very different the perception that you have when you are a disabled person and when you are not disabled. Thank you very much, and I will be able to answer your question when the presentation started and when the Congress started. Thank you.